and I'm very happy to introduce our guest speaker and our trainer for the evening, my friend Terry Weaver. Terry is the Zone 33 Assistant Rotary Coordinator and IT Administrator for both Zones 33 and 34. He is a past governor from District 7750 and a member of the Rotary Club of Greenville, South Carolina. He is a major donor to the Rotary Foundation and a recipient of both the Citation for Meritorious Service and Rotary's highest honor, the Service Above Self Award. Terry and his beautiful wife Pam have 2 children and 4 grandchildren, and they evenly are split between Chicago and Atlanta. Please welcome our IT guru and your expert trainer for the evening, my friend, past District Governor Terry Weaver.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. We're going to spend a little bit of time learning about the CART portal this evening, and we're going to start with the why. Why is it we decided to do this in the first place? Some of those reasons are probably obvious, but as CART has grown and as we've gotten more clubs and more districts and more people involved and more money involved, it is just not practical to handle money on the kitchen table anymore. There are just too many heartbeats used, and it's too much to ask for people to do something that frankly would be better off done by machines. The other thing that model did was limit CART's reach to only districts that had a CART chair. That was our only mechanism of being able to route funds from a club. It also limited access to CART contribution information. How's my club doing? How's my district doing? Because of course you had to depend on the district CART chair to keep those records and to respond to your email or whatever. So it was hard to get a hold of current information, prior year's history. There was no goal setting function. And so we had a lot of things that just really could have been done better. So I want to make the point first, this was somewhat misunderstood at the get-go, and I just have to say that we are not changing the CART bucket loose change contribution model. That has served us well. It's sort of our trademark. And once we get back, of course, to being able to have regular club meetings with all members on deck, that will work out fine again. But it's not our intent to change that. That was not the point of the CART portal. The point was that rather than all these transactions being passed through multiple people, that clubs could simply enter their contribution data when they transfer the money. And the way this thing works is the minute you click the button to make a contribution in the CART portal, that contribution shows up in your club data, it shows up in your district data, and it rolls up to CART nationally. We'll let the machines do the counting, and then we'll provide online reports in real time. Anytime, any place, you can get a report of how your club's doing, how your district's doing, where you are with respect to your goals. Now, for that, of course, we need to know who's online. We need to know who the users are. And we had the opportunity. Now, I want to clarify again, this function of the CART portal is not part of DACDB, but it is a sister application. So the logins that people already have for DACDB work in CART. And of course, we also then within CART can administer security levels that may be slightly different for CART's purposes than they might be in DACDB for the club and district purposes. So what do we get out of this? We get real-time self-service reports for club leaders, district leaders, CART leaders, anybody with a need to know and with an appropriate access level. We can support a club anywhere on the planet. We don't have to know that the district is behind it and that the district is providing support in the form of a CART chair. We can support one club in one district. We provided a goal setting option for the clubs. Those of you that have been around the Rotary Foundation for years know how big the foundation is on goal setting. Now, frankly, since the model was toss your loose change in a bucket at the table, it didn't really make logical sense for clubs to have a CART goal. It was sort of whatever the change added up to. But the fact is, in my experience anyway, that a whole lot of districts got serious about CART, had a district CART goal, and asked many of their clubs to produce CART goals. So we added a goal setting option. Again, keyword here is option. The clubs can enter goals, and if they do so, that will roll up as a part of a district report, and of course it'll be part of the club's reports as well. This will take the CART chairs, both club and district, out of the business of counting and accounting and provide more time for doing what really the value added is, which is promoting CART to the clubs, and they can focus on the mission. Now, I realize that, the term in a club, CART chair, club treasurer, may be somewhat interchangeable in terms of who handles the money. So this training is really focused on the person that's going to be doing those entries, the person that's going to be collecting the money, depositing it in the bank, and then making the contribution to CART, whomever that is. And of course, anybody in the club can do that. It doesn't have to be a club treasurer or CART chair. That's your option. Then, just as we rolled this thing out to the street, we had a change in the world. And a change in the world in the form of a pandemic, which suddenly dramatically affected CART's business model. Now, I've been involved in owning and coaching small businesses for almost 20 years now. And one of the things that happened during the 9-10 recession was businesses that failed for either of two reasons, in my observation. They either didn't understand their financials or their business model fell out from under them. In this particular case, folks, our business model has fallen out from under us. We've got in-person club meetings limited, and even when clubs are having meetings, it's probably not the best practice to be passing around a bucket. So as a result, CART contributions are greatly reduced. That's probably optimistic, significantly reduced. And so we're suggesting that you can use this portal, if you will, as a virtual CART bucket for your club. Members can contribute directly. Anybody in the world can log on to the CART portal and create an account. Anybody with a DACDB login essentially automatically has one already. Or you can continue the practice of having members perhaps send checks to the club. Or make contributions through the person that's currently handling the money in the club. That's fine as well. This application will support all those possibilities. And your club can set and track CART goals. If you're inclined to do so, set a CART goal and then watch your progress toward it. So the login is very simple. It's www.mycartfund.org, mycartfund, all one word, .org. And when you do that, let's take a look, see what happens. I do have to make a disclaimer before we start. This is brand new software. This software does not have anywhere near enough transactions, anywhere near enough runtime to be considered fully shaken down. Now, we've done a lot of testing. We had a cadre of volunteers, some of you on the line, that helped us shake this down as beta test users. And we found every major pothole that we bumped into, but there are small things that pop up here and there, and we'd be happy to take those reports. If you have trouble with something, let us know. I'll give you an email to do that when we finish up here. And for the purpose of today's program, it will probably be best if you ask questions when they occur to you. Just use your space bar to unmute or click unmute on your profile and just sing out. Don't wait for me to take a breath. I won't be offended by your interruption, and I'll recognize you and you can put your question forward. So let's stop here just for a second and see if perhaps anybody does have a question to this point. That's going to be easy. There being none, let's look at the login screen for the CART portal. Now, if you've logged in before, of course, your username and password will persist on the same machine just as it does in DACDB. But if you haven't logged in before, of course, your username and password will be blank. And if you use your DACDB login, there's nothing else to add. We know your club, we know your district, we know your address, we know your phone number, we know your email address, you're in. So that would be, of course, the preferred method. If somebody knows their DACDB login, just finger in your DACDB username, finger in your DACDB password, click the dark blue button, sign in current user, and we instantly create a profile in the CART portal for you. It drags over all that data from DACDB. It's literally one mouse click. But you say, not all of my club members or many of my club members know their DACDB login. What are we going to do now? Well, as I said, Anyone on the planet can create a CART portal profile. And they do that, of course, by using the lighter colored blue button that says create an account. So you can create your own login ID. And of course, we'll ask you a lot of questions because we don't know anything about you. This is what that looks like. Now, the first question we ask you is whether you are a Rotarian or not. We have some non-Rotarian CART portal donors already. If you don't answer that yes, we don't ask you the next several questions that I'm about to show you. But if you answer it yes, the first thing we ask you is for your district ID and then for your club name. That way, anything you do as a user is automatically tied back to your district, tied back to your club. And again, for those of you familiar with the Rotary Foundation, this works exactly the same way. No matter how or where you make a contribution, if your username is tied to your club, then we roll that up to credit your club, and we roll that up to credit your district, and of course, a division of CART if that applies in some cases. So I'll come back to that if there perhaps are questions about it. You can also assign your own username and your own password during this process. Otherwise, obviously, it'd be your DACDB username and password. So it's just like signing into any other online shopping portal, Amazon, Home Depot, whatever. So we're going to do a live demo this evening. I'm taking my life into my own hands. This is not the best practice in the world, but if you'll bear with me, we'll give it a try because I want to allow for your questions. The first thing we're going to walk through is making contributions, how that would work for the person handling the money, typically the treasurer, maybe the CART chair. And you can make contributions on behalf of the club, which is the typical deal, the coins in the bucket, or you can assign a contribution to a particular person as an individual contribution. I'll explain a little more about how that works. Members themselves can make contributions. They can make them on a one-time basis, just 25 bucks here or there. Or we also allow for recurring contributions through either your credit card or your checking account. And of course, those are either monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual. Now, we had in the existing CART contribution page the provision for honorariums and memorials. So we brought that across as well, meaning that if you want to honor or memorialize someone with a contribution, you can do that. Then there's some special provisions that kick in when we do that. We'll go through all that in the demo. You can make contributions by either electronic funds transfer. Now that's really cheap. That costs us about 35 cents per transaction. So you send us $200 or $300, costs 35 cents, we'll pay that. If you want to use a credit card, that's about a 3% overhead factor. And in the case of a credit card, we'll ask you whether you want to pay the fee or whether you want us to pay the fee. And so how that would work is you said, I'm making a round numbers $300 contribution to CART. And you say, I'd rather pay the fee. So you kick in the fee, we hit your credit card for $309 and CART gets $300. Alternate choice is you say, nah, I just want to make $300. That's your choice as well. Then we hit your credit card for $300. Your actual contribution booked into your club and into CART would be $291. So we just discount the credit card fee because we're going to have to pay it, and we can't consider that a contribution to CART research. So we're going to also take a look at the reports that are on the back side of this. Once you start making contributions on the front, they spit out the back in the form of reports of both contributions. Also, for any of the districts that have provided it, for any of the districts that provided us history by club on prior years, we have that loaded into the portal. Then there's also a goal setting provision that I mentioned earlier. So let's take a look here. Okay, can somebody give me a thumbs up? Are you seeing my login screen? You're still seeing the PowerPoint. Let me switch that. Better? Great, thank you. Okay, So I'm on my login screen, and if I logged in, of course, I'd be signing in as myself. But what I wanted to do is show you quickly how slick this create an account thing is. When you click on create an account, pops open a new account profile. And the first question up here is, are you a Rotarian? Yes, no, defaults to no, of course, where you just enter your first name, last name, address, all the same things that you'd expect if you were logging into any kind of funds transaction portal. You can create your own username and password down here. Now, let's say you're a Rotarian. What we do is we ask you for your district name. Now, all you have to do is simply start typing. So let's say you're in Tiffany's district. Type 767 and district 7670 pops right up. And let's say you're in Billy Black's club. You just start typing Franklin, and the two Franklin clubs pop up, and you're good to go. So real easy deal. Add a new account is other things you know, just like studying for a blood test. Everything else you know on the page, you have to know your district number, and then we give you within your district a logical list of clubs. So we'll go back and I'll sign in quickly because I have a cart profile login. I'll sign in as myself. And the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm an administrator, I see a whole lot of things that you don't have to be worried about. So I'm going to immediately switch and impersonate my club administrator, Michelle, who is a level 4 DACDB user. Now, I meant to mention, when you create your profile in CART from DACDB, we bring over your club access level. So if you are a club access level 4, a club admin, which would be true of any club officer, club treasurer, club cart chair, club presidents, etc., we bring that across. Then that way you can see things across the entire club. If you're simply a member, a level 1, then you're seeing only your contributions, but you do get to see everything on behalf of your club. So let's start with the basics, the My Contributions page. Make a contribution. Okay, now let me be clear. If you blow down through this page and just take the defaults, what we're assuming is that you're making a contribution on behalf of your club. It's not your money. It's money you created in or collected in a cart bucket, or that somebody sent into the club office, and you're simply making that contribution on behalf of the club. Then there's some special cases where we might want to do something different. So you'll notice this radio button here. Check here if this is a club contribution. That is the default. If you leave that alone and you come down and put in $100, keep on tabbing down, we ask you then whether you want to do this through EFT or credit card. Now, if you do this by electronic funds transfer, again, it will be cheaper, and we will pay the fee for that. Here's a checkbox that's very useful. If checked, routing and account number will be saved as a cookie for future contributions. By cookie, we mean it'll be saved on your machine, the machine you're using. Now, you don't want to do this at the library, of course. I also mentioned that we never handle these account numbers. Part of our security requirement is that we don't handle the account numbers. We don't handle the credit card numbers. This number appears only as you come through this screen. And of course, if you decide to save it, it would be saved as a cookie. And then ask your account name. So we're set to go. That's all there is to it. If you've ever made a contribution through the CART portal, that's the whole thing. You click make a contribution, you assume that it's a club contribution, you enter the amount, you use whatever method you've used before, EFT or credit card, and you run right on down to the bottom of the page. Nothing to this. Then down here, we ask, is this donation in honor or in memory of someone? That's another option. I'll show you how that works. If you click in memory of, now this is probably not, in this example, it's probably not practical because I chose this to be a club contribution. Probably not practical, but I'll show it to you while we're here anyway. So you enter the name of the person being honored here. And then if you want an acknowledgement, we have a real person, a volunteer, that will send an acknowledgement to another party on behalf of this honoree. Now, obviously, if it's in memory, we don't want to send it there, but we ask you for the name and address and contact information for who you'd like that contribution acknowledgement to be sent to. That may be a surviving spouse, children, etc. in the case of memory. In the case of honor, if you're honoring someone, you might want that person to know that you honored them, in which case you'd put their contribution in the box. If you enter nothing here, nothing will happen. We'll still post it as an honoree or a memorial, but we won't do anything with it in terms of contacting anybody. The only thing left, of course, is submit payment, and it kicks off the payment. The payment processing computer talks to our computer, puts it in our bank account, we roll it into the CART portal, and that contribution is in the books. Let me stop here and see if there are questions before we back up, show you some other options. Okay, let's give this another run. Let's click Make a Contribution from Ground Zero. Say somebody comes up to you at a meeting, hands you a $100 check that says CART in the memo line, it's made out to the club. What do we do about that? Well, we believe that that is probably a personal contribution. Somebody simply decide now, depending on what you see as the amount threshold, but $100 is probably a reasonable personal contribution. And so if that person were to do that, say 3 times in a year, they'd probably expect a tax letter since their total contributions to CART exceeded $250. And we keep track of that if you book them as a personal contribution. So let's look at how
Can we ask questions? Can we ask questions now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it wasn't allowing us to ask questions. On the previous screen where you had the information about electronic funds transfer,
Yes.
I had some questions on that. Can you go back to that screen?
Absolutely.
All right. So this where it says electronic funds transfer, all that's good. It says checking, name on account. Now, presuming that we're transferring money from the Rotary Foundation's checking account, what name do we put on there? The name that appears on the check?
Yes, the name that's on the account.
And then the routing number and so forth as it is on the check?
Yes. Now,
I'm under the impression that Capital One Bank doesn't allow a lot of things on the electronic banking. And so I'm hoping that we can transfer funds directly from our Rotary Club Foundation to the court portal, because that's where we're accumulating the money.
Yeah.
And not have to pass the check to me to deposit into personal accounts so that I can submit it via electronic funds transfer. I'm just trying to avoid that double work.
Yes.
Do you have any experience about Capital One Bank, for instance, and business accounts, whether they allow this?
Don't know, or you might have to fill out some sort of, hold harmless form for them to allow that.
Thank you.
Now, I will make one point though. On many checks, the check number is down in the machine readable line, right along with the routing number and account number. And in some cases, the check number is so close to the account number, it appears to be part of it. That's been our #1 failure mode of people who had trouble with EFTs, is they included the check number as a part of the account number. And they're literally sometimes spaced apart by only like 2 spaces. You could easily get confused. So, as far as your users are concerned, if somebody reports that to you or bumps into that, that's the first thing to check, is whether perhaps it's one of those checks where the account number is almost appended to the account, the check number is almost appended to the account number. Anybody else?
Terry, I have a question. If you are setting up your own thing, because you're not a Rotarian and not through DACTB, so you want to make a contribution, but maybe you want to credit it to someone's district or club. Can a person who is not a Rotarian fill in that part anyway?
Well, they could, of course, impersonate that district or that club. Yeah, they could call themselves a Rotarian and do that, yes.
Okay, so you would have to mark yourself as a Rotarian even if you're not. Okay.
Yeah, to do that automatically. Now, there are some back-end functions where we can edit things and move them around, but that would require some human intervention.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
You bet.
And Terry, this is Billy. Apparently, they're going to have to ask to be unmuted because I have to physically unmute them. Not sure why.
Let me check on that.
So I'm watching the chat and I saw that Charlene couldn't get muted, so I unmuted her, but I'm not sure why that's an issue.
Thank you.
Susan Phillips.
They should now be able to unmute themselves.
Okay, thanks. Well, now they're all unmuted, so if everybody would mute yourself, thank you.
Bob Borkma has a question.
Yeah, and Mike has a question also.
Sure.
I will go ahead with my question then. I put some information in the chat asking about security around the portal. Is there a disclaimer that says use at your own risk, or can you talk to us about what security is embedded in the portal since we're using confidential information like your credit card, et cetera?
Sure. The security that's embedded in the portal is that the portal does not save any of this information. Once you click this submit payment button, you go into a secure conversation directly with the payment processor. So we don't touch the transaction. We don't, it's the same thing that DACDB and most sites use. It connects directly with a secured payment processor. There are countless various different, federal regs and so forth in terms of the security levels you have to maintain to be able to do that. So I just wanted to make it clear that we are not processing these payments ourselves through CART. We don't even touch them. And the only place that anything would be saved of this is if you check this box yourself and save that cookie on your machine. And even then, it's saved only on that machine and it's encrypted.
Terry, this is Gene Wyndham.
Yes,
Apparently I can't get on.
we hear you, Gene.
Oh, okay. I tried to ask a question the first time you stopped for questions and couldn't get in. When I go in and look at the district report, over 50% of the numbers, the membership numbers are wrong. They didn't, because I pulled down the DACDB numbers on July 1st. So I have those. And we track our numbers, and each club that does $20 or more gets 2 points towards Club of the Year out of 100 points.
Great.
And so the clubs are very sensitive to those numbers being what they were on July 1st.
Well, let me say that I noticed that myself as I was preparing for this. And we have a utility where we can load those July 1st numbers. And for whatever reason, that has not gotten done yet, but it will. So
Okay.
If you look in here a week from now, you'll see the July 1st numbers. They are not the DAC numbers, they're the RI numbers. They're the exact member numbers from RI. That
We
you
go
see.
by the DAC numbers because that's the ones that are sent to RI from our district.
Well, actually, the DAC numbers and RI numbers can be different, but the ones we are going by are the ones from RI.
Anyway, the ones we go by are the DAC numbers because that is what we require clubs to do. So that means I'm going to have to move the numbers from your numbers to our numbers to give them the credit that we promised. Now,
Are you talking about the club member counts?
Than I was last year. So the second one is there was a whole bunch of goals in there for the clubs, and there was a goal for the district. We never set a district number, and because it was different than the total that the districts added up, or then the clubs added up. So we don't put anything as a district number to do anything, and I don't know where that came from. That was part of what I called Bill Shilto and Bill about, because I didn't even have your name, because it wasn't in the contact list.
We should take this offline.
Okay.
I can go back through the transaction logs and tell you where the goals came from. We didn't put them in, and they simply roll up arithmetically just the way Rotary Foundation goals do or membership goals do to the district.
Okay, we need to talk about it then.
Okay, somebody else.
Nobody in the cart structure put those in. Terry will be able to tell you who entered those through the
Right.
Who did put them in?
Terry, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Tom Fitzgerald, and I'm very interested in the portal being used, particularly as in our club in North Carolina, we've had some members step up and make individual contributions,
Good.
which are being funneled to the treasurer, and then she's going to go ahead and probably post this to the portal, and the club will get the credit. But my question is, if we were to do a presentation where we explain to the members of the club that they could have their own login to the CART portal, and they decide to go on and make a individual contribution, does that roll into the club's numbers?
Of course.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. Rolls into the club, rolls into the district, rolls all the way up.
Okay, great.
This is Crossy Cox from the
Sure, Crossy.
hey Terry, from the Clemson Sunrise Club. My question to you is, will we receive a receipt from CART or from DuckDB?
The person making the contribution gets the receipt. The person that entered the contribution gets the receipt. And if that was on behalf of another person, you of course could email it to them.
Susan, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. And can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, Susan. What's up?
Oh, yes. Terry, first, I'd just like to say that I really appreciate all the work you did on this system. It's really fabulous. I mean, I'm really liking the system. And I know you and I have dealt, and you dealt a lot with the user error that I have that I have caused. Probably, I don't know, Gene. Probably I entered your goals for all I know. But yeah, it's really a great system, and it's just going to keep getting better. So as you know, when you get a new system online, there's all kinds of things that need to keep improving. So just be patient and, let Terry know he's very responsive, Gene. So
Well, I didn't
he'll
hand his
figure it out.
contact info, so
Thank you, Susan.
Oh yeah, well he'll get it for you. So for Mike, I just wanted to say for Mike Hicks's answer, there's a little lock up there for the banking information, and that tells you, Mike, that it is secure. And that's one of the very few things that I know about those kind of things, and I've learned that the hard way. But yeah, so that tells you that information is secure, is that little lock up in that corner on that tab. And Tiffany, is this being recorded? Because I'm not seeing the record button turning red, but I hope it is, because
it is.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Jean. Yeah, because I got a late start with my AG trying to get this out. So I'm really hoping that I can get the word out. But
okay.
I just wanted to tell you that, or ask you a couple of questions. I should have been your beta user, I think, Terry, because I went in several times and I've made all kinds of donations in different ways. I did a personal donation. I did a donation as the treasurer of my club. I did a donation as the district cart chair. And I did a donation. Unfortunately, we had several Rotarians in the club who lost a member of their family. This was even before COVID. So, and we did bequests. And one of the things that happened to me was, because I had made a personal donation, it seemed to pick my name up, my email or something, and maybe I did something wrong, but it picked my name up, and it seemed to pick up my information with it and take the money out of my account instead of the club account. So we had trouble tracking that. You probably, in the scheme of all of the transactions you did, you probably don't remember me asking you about that, but.
Well, the only way that could happen is if perhaps you check the remember my account, and then it it popped a different one.
Yeah,
If you enter the routing number for the account you intend to use, or the credit card number for the credit card you intend to use, we don't tie that back together in the back end. We don't even see those. It has to be
Yeah.
something on the front end.
because I've done entries just about every which way you
Yeah.
can. It's been
Anything else?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it just keeps getting better and better. In fact, our treasurer just went in and made a donation for our club and one for Bedford. And he said it was easy. He loved it. It went very
Good to
smoothly.
hear. I think we're done here, folks. Signing off.
Terry, I have a question.
Yeah.
I know this is being recorded, but are you going to provide any of your training material? Because I'd like to share this with my club. Is that possible?
I can provide that little slide set at the front. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Let's talk about what happens when this member comes up and hands you this check. You go back to the club office or home or wherever you work from. You deposit, the check is made out to the club. You deposit it in the club account. So now what we want to do is we want to do a transfer from the club account on behalf of that member as a personal contribution to CART. So the first thing that would have to happen is we'd have to know who that member is. We'd have to have an account for that member in the CART portal. So that's where this first section up here comes in. If you need to credit an individual contribution to another member, that's when you use this first section of the Make a Contribution page. So if we already have them in the CART portal, you can find them simply by entering their last name in this little search, and we'll search the CART user base to look for them. So for example, a member of my club, for example, Kathy has an account. I typed MCA, popped her ID, and of course I can switch that to Kathy. I can back up and I can choose either myself or Pam, our club admin, of course, who I'm logged in under. This wouldn't make much sense. Pops Michelle Patterson. So if somebody's already got a CART ID, you simply find them in this little box. Now, early in the game, that probably won't be the case. So then we get to the Add a New User button. When you click Add a New User, then what we give you is a search that is across your district for DACDB IDs, for DACDB users, okay? So let's see if we can find past governor Lance Young. Sure enough, we got a lot of Youngs. When we click on Lance, then we grab all of Lance's profile information from DACDB. You'll notice the login name is okay, a little checkbox back here. And if I were to click Add a User, we would automatically bring in Lance's email address that he uses, DG 2016, and we bring in Lance's password, which we can't see, and Lance would have a DACDB login, meaning also that he would be in the, he would have a CART login, meaning also that he'd be in the CART database going forward, so you wouldn't have to do any of this, you'd just pick him out of the list the next time. Everybody see how that works? Everybody okay with that? Your other option is you can use this screen and you can add somebody from scratch without going through the DAC search. Okay, so we're going to pick somebody, Kathy, make a contribution on her behalf. Now, this is still defaulted to a club contribution. If we want that to be hers, then we want to click this personal contribution radio button. Now we're essentially impersonating as if Kathy were doing the contribution. She said it's going to be a personal contribution. It's going to be $100, which was the amount of the check. And right here, I wanted to point out this period. This says one-time payment. Now we've had some confusion over this. One-time payment means I'm just doing this, obviously, one time. Granted, many of your clubs, for example, send money to CART quarterly. it's still a one-time payment. It's all random amounts, right? It's a single payment each time. There is a drop down here, however, for the recurring contributions. If that's your intent, if that's what you want to do, to set up a recurring contribution that will come back and hit this same credit card, come back and hit this same EFT account, the same bank account, you can do that. So that's where you do that, is right here in this period section. Most of what you'll do, of course, I suppose, is one-time payments, processing, some change from the buckets or processing a couple of checks that came in. Then we get down to EFT or credit card. Again, if you've checked this, whatever routing number and account number you used when you check the box will persist. But obviously you can just backspace that out. You can change to any other routing number, any other account number you want, or you can click the credit card button, in which case we ask you whether you want to add or deduct the convenience fee. Just explained that before. Then when you click the submit payment button, you go into the credit card information entry screen. So what we did there is we decided that we wanted to take Kathy's $100 check that she gave us at the meeting, wanted to tag that to her account individually, make it a personal contribution, scrolled all the way down through. We decided whether we used the club credit card or the club bank account as an EFT, and then submit the payment. And what that does, of course, is roll right up through Kathy's account into the club, into the district. Any questions about all that?
Hi, Terry. It's Steve English from Delray Beach. How are
Sure.
you? I wanted to ask, is there been any consideration about adding like a Venmo option or alternative electronic transfer of money capability?
No, hasn't been any consideration of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, let's go look at something different. Let's go look at the reports. What happens after the fact? Taking a look at the reports, not a whole lot, and they're not very complicated. So let's take a quick look here at, first of all, the contribution history. The contribution history is a running log of contributions that, in the case of, if you're a level 4 user, it will be for your club. And it will be for whatever club year, which is now the CART year. CART has changed its year to July 1st. So whatever club year pops, obviously the current year is the default. And what you see here is each contribution. And let's see, yeah, those are dated. And we have the transaction information over here, where it came from. We have the person that actually was driving when that was done. And then we have the amount. So my club, since July 1st, 2020, has contributed $675 to CART, some of it done by the club admin, Michelle. Those are club contributions. I made a contribution of my own here, and then we had our club president. We had a little CART challenge within the club. Our club president came in and made a contribution herself, as did Kathy, who we used as an example before. So this is the sum total of the traffic from the Greenville Rotary Club for this current club year. Now, if we roll back to a prior year, what we see here on behalf of my club is mostly, you'll notice small numbers, mostly test contributions that were made as we were shaking this down. But we did get Michelle to start using it for club contributions early in the game. So you'll see some of these odd amounts. She rounds them off to the nearest dollar, but 131, 186, and so forth. So those are, and then what we also did is we loaded the balance of contributions from each club that had come through the CART shares as a lump sum. So that is how we get the history for this prior year, is we loaded whatever lump sum contributions came in through the CART shares, plus whatever we collected from the clubs actually in that year. If you go back far enough, then that's all you'll see is the one-time load of whatever the club history was as presented to us by the CART share. Okay, so that is the CART contribution history. The second report I call your attention to is the club goal setting summary. Now, if you're a district officer logged in at a level 6 or a district CART chair, you'd see all the clubs in the district. As we're under a club ID here, we're seeing only one. But what we see here is the prior contribution years going back 4 years. So we have 2019-20, 18-19, 17-18, and then we also look at the best prior year. That way you don't have to do the math, and we calculate the best prior year per capita for you. Okay? So you've got the data on your club's, shall we say, giving capacity with respect to CART. Now, I'm going to admit a bit of embarrassment on my part. My club has set an extraordinarily low CART goal. I don't know why. I'm not entirely sure by whom, but I checked it out with the club president, and that is her intent. So let's see, we're 21, 22, I'm in the wrong year. Back it up. Okay, so despite this club history, my club has decided its club goal is a rompin' stompin' $700, which of course reverse calculates to $3.17 per capita. Now, this does have a cool feature here, which is that you can take the prior year per capita. This is the best of, okay? Say, well, maybe we can't do 22, but maybe we can do 20. So you finger in 20. We use the club size, again, as reported by Rotary International, July 1st of the year, and it calculates a club goal for you. Now, that isn't in yet. We have not clicked save. You can overtype this. So the club goal calculation is $4,420. You could round that down to say $4,400 and call it a day. If you click save, that would become the club goal. Meaning, of course, as you see here, that by a person with club administration access, you can move the club goals just as you can move goals in Rotary Club Central. Obviously, we have some transaction logging, so if there's a question about who did that, we can easily sleuth that out. But that takes human intervention to do it. So this is the goal setting module. The idea there was to give people some coaching in terms of how their club had done over time, to calculate that for them on a per capita basis, and then give this quick little per capita calculator so you don't have to finger this into some other app. And it uses the club size as loaded as far as July 1st is concerned. Any questions on that? Obviously, not all the clubs in a district will probably enter a goal. For those that do, those will roll up as a district goal. Gene, you're muted.
Can I go in and adjust those club goals?
What's your role, Gene?
I'm the district park chair.
Yes, you can.
Besides that, I have a level 7 in DAC DVD.
Yes, you can. Just as in DAC, if you have level 6 or 7 access, you've got pretty much godlike roaming principles across the district.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's back up and take a look at the third report. Now that you know where the goal setting came from, then you'll notice on the CART Club Management Report, what you see is the, let's see, 21, 22, got to get back in the right year. CART Club Management Report, you see the CART goal amount, you see the CART goal per capita, the percent goal achieved. Like I said, we ran this little CART contest, and that calculates the actual per capita. And of course, it has the current month and year to date. It also, right alongside, gives you the prior year, also year to date, the prior year, meaning at this same time, the prior year, where were you? And since obviously we didn't have this app up and running by 1st of October last year, that year to date for the prior year is 0. So those are the club reports.
Terry, I have not a question, but a statement on this, a thought on it. The problem with the goal that your club president has set, and many other clubs that do the same thing, this is proof that we need to get to the governor nominees. You know, in any way that we can reach those people, it's really important before they make their plans for the year, so that when they're, you know, and of course the current governors or the governor elects, because those people do have influence over what club presidents decide to do, because they're going to be listened to for 1 year, and that's it. You know, they'll listen to you the year you're the governor.
Yeah.
But if we can get to those people early, and I do know that we've got a governor nominee on tonight. Dan is on. So anyway, thank you, Dan, for being here.
And Charlene, I would add to that, I've learned, particularly in foundation and foundation goal setting, if you can keep this thing pretty much normalized to a per capita basis, give them a bogey in terms of, you know, what's the district bogey per capita? Say $25, $20, you know, 25 cents a meeting, whatever, you know, makes sense to you, and just kind of toss that one out there. And then obviously they can look at their own clubs, assuming that we've received it from the district. They can look at their own club's history, but if you set some sort of an expectation out there, obviously you can't direct them what their CART goal ought to be or any other goal, but you can certainly put something out there that's reasonable. The last thing I wanted to note was the My Contributions link, and what this is a summary of contributions by the user that's logged in right now. And so if we switch this to July 1st, 2020, now, it defaults to list only my personal contributions, and keep in mind we're logged in as Michelle. We click list only contributions I entered on behalf of my club, different radio button. Then you see all those same contributions that we saw over on the club report that Michelle had entered on behalf of her club. So the two reports tie together. These three lines are exactly the same as those same three lines on the club contribution history, which are the ones that Michelle made. So my contributions is just a way to check in on, you know, if you're a club admin and you're making, you know, 30 or 40 of these a year, it's kind of a handy report to be able to slide back and see how things look. Not only that, you can change the begin end dates to anything you want. So if you're trying to figure out, did I actually do the first quarter, or did I actually do March, or did I actually do July, you can neck that down and get exactly what you're looking for.
Terry, I had a couple of old school people that wanted to mail a check in to the treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still allowed to do that, or we're trying to get away from that and just do the EFT?
We'd like them to mail that check into the club treasurer, and the club treasurer to use this vehicle to post it.
Yeah, but if they just for whatever reason, I don't know, won't do that, or I mean, you know, it's a learning thing, right?
Well, you know, it's to some extent, maybe you could put it in the context of mutual respect. You know, why make some other volunteer go to the effort of depositing and cashing and posting your check when we could do it out here in the field?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
This is really about taking unnecessary heartbeats out of the system.
Create more work. Why create more work?
Right.
So they could actually just do it in the EFT portal.
They could do that, or they could, you know, send it into the club with their dues and let the person that normally handles that for the club do it. Well, thanks so much for joining us. This has been great. My email address, dg2015@rotary7750.org. That's a source of help. Of course, if you lose track of that, send something into Bill Shillito. He'll kick it out toward me. We are working on a little help page for the CART portal itself, where you can just do that online. But you know, happy to answer your questions, solve your problems. We can fix almost anything after the fact. So if something goes amiss, why we can adjust that after the fact and move things around.